My future wife, there is something I have been carrying inside my heart for longer than you probably realize. Something I wanted to say. Even before I knew your name, before I knew your voice, before I knew the sound of your laughter, or the way your eyes would light up when you talked about something you loved. I don't know where you are right now. I don't know what your day looked like today. Maybe you're smiling, maybe you're tired, maybe you're sitting somewhere wondering what your future will look like, just like I have wondered about mine. But somehow, in the quiet moments, when everything else becomes still, I find myself thinking about you, and I know how strange that sounds. How can you miss someone you have never met? How can your heart make room for a person whose face you haven't seen? How can you feel connected to someone whose hand you have never held? Maybe I don't have all the answers to those questions. Maybe I am not supposed to. Maybe some things are not meant to be understood before they happen. Maybe some things are simply meant to be believed in. So tonight, or whenever you happen to hear these words, I want you to know that there is a message I have been waiting to tell you. Not because I have everything figured out. Not because I know exactly when our paths will cross. Not because I can predict the future and tell you how our story will begin. I am telling you because I believe some of the most meaningful promises are made before the moment arrives when they are needed. I want you to know that I am thinking about the woman I hope to meet one day. And I am thinking about what it means to become the kind of man who can truly love her. Because it would be easy to sit here and imagine you as some perfect picture in my mind. It would be easy to create an image of a woman who never gets upset, never disagrees, never has doubts, never has difficult days, and always knows exactly what to say. But that isn't real love. That's fantasy. Real love is not built around perfection. Real love is built around two imperfect people deciding that what they have is worth protecting. And perhaps that is the important thing I want to tell you first. I am not waiting for a fantasy. I am waiting for you, the real you. The woman who has had days when she questioned herself. The woman who has probably wondered whether she is enough. The woman who may have experienced disappointment, heartbreak, rejection, or moments when she wondered whether the love she hoped for would ever find her. I don't know the details of your story yet, but I know that someday, when you tell me those stories, I don't want to listen so that I can judge you. I want to listen so I can understand you. I want to know what shaped you. I want to know what made you stronger. I want to know what made you cry. I want to know what you prayed about when nobody else knew you were hurting. I want to know what makes you laugh so hard that you forget to be serious for a moment. I want to know what dreams you kept hidden because they seemed too big to say out loud. I want to know the little things, too. Your favorite song, the food you crave when you're having a difficult day, the memories you never get tired of talking about, the places that make you feel peaceful, the things that annoy you, the things that make you feel safe, the things that make you feel loved. Because one day, when I finally meet you, I don't want to simply recognize your face. I want to recognize your heart. And until that day comes, there is something I need to do. I need to become someone worthy of the trust you will place in me. That means I cannot spend my time dreaming about you while refusing to grow myself. I cannot ask God, life, or the future to give me a beautiful relationship while I remain unwilling to become a better man. I cannot expect you to bring peace into my life if I have never learned how to create peace within myself. I cannot ask you for honesty if I am unwilling to be honest. I cannot ask you for loyalty if I do not understand commitment. I cannot ask you to communicate when things become difficult if I am only willing to listen when everything is easy. So while I wait for you, I want to work on me. I want to become more patient, more understanding, more compassionate, more disciplined, more honest, more capable of admitting when I am wrong, more willing to listen instead of immediately defending myself, because I don't want the day we meet to be the beginning of my growth. I want it to be the day you discover that I was already trying. There is something beautiful about knowing that love is not only about finding someone. Sometimes love begins long before two people meet. It begins in the decisions they make when nobody is watching. It begins when a person chooses to become emotionally mature. It begins when someone decides to stop repeating the same mistakes. It begins when they learn that being strong does not mean never needing help. It begins when they understand that vulnerability is not weakness. My future wife, I want you to know that I am not afraid of vulnerability with you. I don't want to stand in front of you one day pretending to be unbreakable. I don't want you to think that you have to marry a man who has no fears, no uncertainties, no moments of weakness. I want you to know me as I am. I want you to see the person behind the confidence, the person behind the smile, the person behind the words. There may be days when I don't have the right answer. There may be days when I feel overwhelmed. There may be days when I need encouragement. And I hope that when those days come, I will be brave enough to tell you. Because I don't want us to build a marriage where we perform strength for each other. I want us to build one where we can finally breathe, where you can come home after a difficult day and say, "I'm tired," without having to explain why. Where I can look at you and know that something is wrong before you even say it. Where silence doesn't feel like punishment. Where disagreements don't automatically become threats to the relationship. Where an apology doesn't feel like defeat. Where forgiveness is not used as a weapon. Where love is not constantly being tested. I want the kind of connection where both of us know, deep down, that we are on the same side. And maybe that is what my heart has been trying to tell you all along. I don't know when I will meet you. I don't know what circumstances will bring us together. I don't know what season of life we will be in. I don't know whether our first conversation will be memorable or completely ordinary. Maybe we will meet in a way that feels almost insignificant at first. Maybe there will be no dramatic music, no perfect moment, no magical sign that immediately tells us what the future holds. Maybe it will simply be two people meeting at the right time, beginning a conversation that neither of them realizes will eventually change everything. And honestly, I like the idea of that. Because sometimes the greatest stories begin quietly. A simple hello, a conversation, a smile. A moment that seems ordinary until you look back years later and realize that it was the moment your whole life began moving in a different direction. When that moment comes, I hope I am ready to recognize what matters. I hope I am mature enough not to judge you based on one conversation. I hope I am patient enough to let you be yourself. I hope I am courageous enough to pursue something meaningful instead of running away because vulnerability feels risky. And I hope you will feel the same freedom with me. You won't have to impress me every second. You won't have to pretend you are always okay. You won't have to hide your imperfections because you are afraid they will make me love you less. I don't want a woman who feels like she has to perform to keep my attention. I want a woman who can sit beside me in silence and still feel completely loved. I want the kind of love where we don't have to constantly prove that we care, because our actions speak every day. And I know that sounds beautiful when spoken out loud, but I also know that words are easy. Promises are easy when life is calm. It is easy to say, "I'll always be there," when everything is going well. The real test comes later. The real test comes when one of us is exhausted, when plans fall apart, when money is tight, when expectations are misunderstood, when emotions get heated, when life doesn't look like the picture we imagined. That is when love becomes more than a feeling. That is when commitment becomes real. And that is why, before I ever meet you, I want you to know that I am not searching for something temporary. I am not dreaming about a relationship that only works when everything is perfect. I am hoping for something deeper, something strong enough to survive ordinary life, something honest enough to survive difficult conversations, something gentle enough to survive vulnerability, something intentional enough to survive time. Because when I eventually call you my wife, I don't want that word to mean that I simply found someone I loved. I want it to mean that I found someone I chose, someone I would continue choosing, someone whose heart I would continue learning, someone whose dreams would matter to me, someone whose happiness would not be an accessory to mine, but something I would genuinely care about. And perhaps years from now, you will look back at these words and laugh a little, because you will know just how nervous I was before I ever knew you. Maybe you'll say, "You really thought about all of this before we even met?" And I will smile because the answer will be yes, because when you matter to someone, the heart begins preparing before the introduction, before the first date, before the first argument, before the first monument, before the first anniversary, before the first photograph together, before the first time I hear you call me by a name that only you use. Before all of it, there is hope. And right now, hope is what I have. Hope that somewhere, somehow, there is a woman whose heart will fit into the life I am trying to build. Hope that when our paths cross, we will both be ready to recognize something worth protecting. Hope that the future is not simply something waiting to happen to us, but something we will build together through thousands of small decisions. And until that day arrives, I want to carry one thought with me. I may not know your name yet, but I already know the kind of love I want to give you. A love that listens, a love that stays, a love that learns, a love that forgives, a love that forgives, a love that communicates, a love that doesn't disappear when life becomes difficult. And most importantly, a love that chooses you, not because you are perfect, but because you are you. So wherever you are tonight, future wife, I hope life is being kind to you. I hope you are growing. I hope you are becoming everything you were meant to become. And I hope that somewhere along your journey, you remember that you don't have to become perfect to be deeply loved. Because one day when our paths finally meet, I don't want to fall in love with an image I created in my imagination. I want to meet you exactly as you are, and I want you to meet me exactly as I am. Then, together, we can begin becoming everything we are still meant to be. Until that day comes, know that there is someone out there preparing his heart, not merely to find you, but to love you well when he finally does. My future wife, there is another truth I need you to know. And maybe this is one of the hardest truths to explain, because it asks us to believe in something we cannot yet see. I don't know when we will meet. I don't know the exact day, the exact place, or the circumstances that will bring our lives together. I don't know what either of us will be doing when that moment arrives. Maybe we will meet when neither of us is looking for love. Maybe we will meet after both of us have experienced seasons that taught us how to appreciate something real. Maybe our paths have already crossed without either of us knowing it. Or maybe there are still years between where I am today and the moment I finally look at you and realize that somehow all this waiting had a purpose. But even with all those unknowns, there is one thing I believe with my whole heart. You are worth waiting for, not because I know that you will be perfect, not because I imagine that marriage will solve every problem or that being together will somehow make life effortless. I know better than that. Life will still be life. There will still be difficult seasons, unexpected disappointments, long days, misunderstandings, responsibilities, and moments when we both have to choose patience instead of comfort. But I believe the right person is worth waiting for, because the right person does not simply make your good days better. The right person gives you someone to stand beside when the days become difficult. And I would rather wait for something real than rush into something that only feels right for a moment. That is important to me, because there have been times when waiting can feel like losing. You look around and see other people finding love, getting married, building families, sharing photographs, celebrating anniversaries, and creating memories. And sometimes, quietly, you wonder, when is it going to be my turn? Maybe you have asked that question too. Maybe there have been nights when you wondered whether love would ever find you. Maybe you watched people around you move forward while your own story seemed to remain still. Maybe you have questioned whether something was wrong with you because the relationship you hoped for never arrived. If that has ever been you, I want you to hear this carefully. Your waiting does not mean you are forgotten. Your waiting does not mean you are unworthy. Your waiting does not mean love passed you by. Sometimes waiting is not a punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes the delay is creating room for something you could not have handled before. Sometimes life is shaping two people separately before allowing their stories to intersect. And maybe that is what is happening with us right now. Maybe you are becoming stronger in places you don't even realize. Maybe I am learning lessons that I will one day need in order to love you well. Maybe the experiences that feel confusing today are quietly preparing us for the life we will build tomorrow. I don't know. But I believe there is value in trusting what we cannot yet understand. Because if I become obsessed with when I will find you, I might miss the person I am supposed to become before I meet you. And that matters. I don't want to spend my life asking, where are you? While refusing to ask myself, who do I need to become? I want to use this season wisely. I want to grow. I want to mature. I want to learn how to communicate honestly. I want to become more patient. I want to understand that love isn't just about chemistry or attraction or butterflies or romantic words. Love is responsibility. Love is consistency. Love is sacrifice. Love is listening when you're tired. Love is making space for another person's feelings. Love is knowing when to speak and when to be quiet. Love is being humble enough to say, I was wrong. Love is strong enough to stay present when running away would be easier. And I want to learn all of that before you arrive. Because I don't want you to meet a man who is simply excited to have a wife. I want you to meet a man who understands what it means to be a husband. There is a difference. Anyone can become excited about the idea of love. Anyone can imagine candlelight dinners, beautiful trips, wedding photographs, anniversaries, and romantic moments. But marriage is built in the ordinary moments that nobody photographs. It's in the mornings when one of us is exhausted. It's in the grocery store. It's in paying bills. It's in making decisions. It's in sitting together after a long day when neither of us has much energy left. It's in caring when one of us is sick. It's in encouraging a dream that feels frightening. It's in having a difficult conversation instead of ignoring a problem. It's in choosing tenderness when frustration would be easier. That's the kind of love I want. And I believe the right person is worth waiting for. Because the right person will not just become part of the beautiful moments, she will become part of the real moments. You will see the ordinary side of me, and I will see the ordinary side of you. There will be mornings when your hair is messy, when you don't feel beautiful, when you don't want to talk, when you're overwhelmed, when you're frustrated because something went wrong. And I hope I will remember that you are not required to be impressive for me to love you. I hope I will remember that you are human, and I hope you will remember the same about me. There may be days when you see me at my worst. There may be days when I don't have the right words. There may be moments when I disappoint you. And I know that because I am human too. But I want our relationship to be strong enough that imperfection does not automatically become rejection. I want us to understand that having a difficult day does not mean having a failed marriage. Having an argument does not mean the love is gone. Feeling frustrated does not mean we chose the wrong person. Sometimes two people can love each other deeply and still misunderstand each other. Sometimes two good people can hurt one another without intending to. Sometimes the answer isn't to walk away. Sometimes the answer is to slow down, listen, apologize, forgive, and try again. And that's why I don't want to rush. Because I don't just want to find someone quickly. I want to find someone with whom I can build slowly. Someone I can know deeply. Someone whose story I can learn piece by piece. Someone whose trust I can earn rather than demand. Someone who understands that love is not a race. Because I think there is something beautiful about taking your time with a person. Learning what makes them laugh. Learning what scares them. Learning the wounds they don't talk about easily. Learning what they need when life gets heavy. Learning how they receive love. Learning what their dreams are. Learning what kind of future they imagine. And then choosing to support that future. I want that kind of relationship. Not one built on pressure. Not one built on fear of being alone. Not one where two people stay together simply because they are afraid to start over. I want a relationship where we are together because we genuinely want to be. Because we respect one another. Because we enjoy one another. Because we trust one another. Because we have built something strong enough that commitment feels like a beautiful choice instead of a prison. And maybe that is one reason waiting matters. When you wait, you learn the difference between loneliness and love. You learn that being alone is not the same thing as being incomplete. You learn that you do not need to accept the wrong person simply because the right person has not arrived yet. You learn that attention is not the same as affection. Chemistry is not the same as compatibility. And having someone beside you is not the same as having someone who truly understands your heart. I want you to know that I would rather have an empty chair beside me for a season than fill that chair with someone who does not belong there. Because if our lives are eventually meant to become one, I want that union to be built on truth, not desperation, not convenience, not loneliness, truth. And I hope you feel the same. I hope you never settle for someone simply because you are tired of waiting. I hope you never convince yourself that disrespect is the price of companionship. I hope you never believe that you have to accept less than love simply because time is passing. The right person may take time to find. The right relationship may take time to build, and sometimes the right timing may feel painfully slow. But slow does not mean wrong. Delayed does not mean denied. Unseen does not mean unreal. There is a temptation in life to believe that if something hasn't happened yet, then it never will. But not everything meaningful happens on our schedule. Some things take longer because they matter. A tree doesn't become strong overnight. A deep friendship doesn't form in one afternoon. Trust doesn't appear after one conversation. Character isn't built by one decision. And perhaps a lasting marriage isn't found in one perfect moment either. Perhaps it grows through countless little choices. And perhaps the people who will eventually stand beside each other have to become the people capable of sustaining that love. So, my future wife, while I am waiting for you, I hope you are not simply waiting too. I hope you're living. I hope you're laughing. I hope you're chasing meaningful dreams. I hope you're discovering who you are. I hope you're learning what you deserve. I hope you're becoming comfortable with your own company. I hope you're building friendships, creating memories, experiencing life, and becoming stronger through every season that comes your way. Because when we finally meet, I don't want us to arrive empty. I want us to arrive full of life, full of stories, full of lessons, full of gratitude, full of understanding. I want us to bring two complete journeys into one shared future. And maybe when we finally sit across from one another, we will realize that all those years of uncertainty were not wasted. Maybe we'll understand why certain relationships didn't work, why certain doors closed, why certain moments had to hurt, why some opportunities never happened, why some plans changed. Maybe we'll look back and realize that the waiting protected us from things we were not ready for. Maybe we'll understand that some endings were actually preparing us for a better beginning. And when that beginning arrives, I hope we will not take it for granted. I hope I will look at you and feel grateful, not entitled. I hope you will look at me and feel safe, not uncertain. I hope we will both recognize that love is not something we discovered by accident and then simply possessed. It will be something we have to care for, something we have to protect, something we have to nurture, something we have to choose again and again. And perhaps that is the greatest reason I believe you are worth waiting for. Because I don't want to spend my life chasing a feeling. I want to build a life with a person. A real person. A woman with dreams and fears. A woman with strengths and weaknesses. A woman who will sometimes challenge me. A woman who will sometimes need me. A woman who will sometimes need me. A woman who will sometimes teach me. A woman who will sometimes see things I cannot see. And I want to be humble enough to appreciate that. I want to be grateful that I won't have to walk through life alone. But more than that, I want to know that when I meet you, I will not be thinking, finally, someone to complete me. I will be thinking, here is someone I want to walk beside. Because you won't be responsible for completing my life. You won't be responsible for fixing me. You won't be responsible for carrying every burden I have. And I won't expect you to be anything other than the woman you truly are. We will meet as two imperfect people, and together we will learn how to become a team. That's the future I hope for. And until I know your name, until I know your story, until I know what your story, I know what your smile looks like, I will keep believing that some things are worth waiting for. You are worth waiting for. And when the day finally comes, I hope I can look at you and say with complete honesty, I am glad I didn't settle for less. I'm glad I waited for you. My future wife, there is something else I want you to know before our story ever begins. And perhaps this is one of the most important things I could ever tell you. I don't want you to fall in love with a version of me that doesn't exist. I don't want you to look at me and see someone who always knows what to say, always knows what to do, always feels confident, and always has life under control. Because that person doesn't exist. And I don't want to build our future on pretending that I am someone I am not. I want you to know the real me. Not the polished version. Not the version that only appears when everything is going well. Not the version that knows exactly how to smile when something hurts. I want you to know the man behind all of that. I want you to know the person who has had doubts. The person who has made mistakes. The person who has sometimes wondered whether he was moving in the right direction. The person who has had moments of confidence and moments of uncertainty. The person who has had dreams that took longer than expected. The person who has been disappointed. The person who has sometimes struggled to find the right words. Because I don't want to impress you into loving me. I want to be honest enough that you can love me for who I truly am. And I want the same freedom for you. I don't want you to feel like you have to become some flawless version of yourself before you can stand beside me. I don't want you worrying about whether you're beautiful enough, successful enough, calm enough, organized enough, or strong enough. I don't want you thinking you have to hide your difficult days just to keep my attention. I want to know you when you are joyful. And I want to know you when you are exhausted. I want to know the woman who laughs loudly and the woman who sometimes needs a quiet room. I want to know your confidence and your insecurity. I want to know the things you are proud of and the things you are still learning to accept about yourself. Because someday, when we become husband and wife, we will not be living together as two perfect people. We will be living as two real people. Two people with histories. Two people with habits. Two people with fears. Two people with dreams. Two people carrying experiences from before they ever met one another. And I want us to feel safe enough to bring all of that into the same room. I don't want there to be a part of you that you are constantly afraid to reveal. I don't want you wondering, what if he sees this side of me and changes his mind? I don't want you hiding your tears because you're afraid they will make you look weak. I don't want you hiding your opinions because you're afraid I will disagree. I don't want you pretending to enjoy something because you think I expect you to. I want your honesty, even when it is uncomfortable. Especially when it is uncomfortable. Because I believe love becomes deeper when two people stop performing for each other. There's a kind of exhaustion that comes from constantly trying to be who you think someone else wants you to be. You start measuring every word. You start worrying about every reaction. You start wondering whether you laughed too loudly, spoke too much, asked for too much, or showed too much emotion. And eventually you realize you're not really being loved. You're being evaluated. I never want you to feel evaluated by me. I want you to feel known. There is a difference. Being admired from a distance can feel wonderful, but being known is something deeper. Being known means someone sees your weaknesses and doesn't immediately walk away. Being known means you can tell the truth and still feel respected. Being known means you don't have to explain every emotion perfectly before someone decides your feelings are valid. Being known means you can say, I don't know what's wrong with me today, and the person beside you doesn't rush to criticize you. They simply stay. I want to be that person for you. And I hope you will be that person for me. Because there will be moments when I won't understand myself completely. There will be moments when I need time to process something. There will be moments when I get frustrated. There will be moments when something affects me more deeply than I expected. And I don't want to hide those things from you. I want to be able to look at you and say, I'm struggling today, without feeling ashamed. I want to trust that you won't use my vulnerability against me. And I promise I will never deliberately use yours against you. That is one of the foundations I want to build our marriage upon. Trust. Not simply trusting that we won't betray each other, but trusting that our hearts are safe with one another. Trusting that when one of us speaks honestly, the other won't turn that honesty into ammunition later. Trusting that when we disagree, we won't immediately attack the person instead of addressing the problem. Trusting that when one of us makes a mistake, we can talk about it without destroying each other's dignity. That kind of trust takes time. It doesn't appear because two people exchange rings. It grows through consistency, through small actions, through keeping promises, through telling the truth when the truth is difficult, through showing up, through listening, through admitting when we're wrong. And I want to build that kind of trust with you slowly and carefully, because I know what it feels like to want to be understood, and I know how painful it can be when you feel unseen. So I don't want to simply hear your words. I want to listen to what is underneath them. Sometimes you might tell me you're fine when what you really mean is that you're overwhelmed. Sometimes you might say you don't care when something actually hurts deeply. Sometimes you might become quiet because you don't know how to explain what you're feeling. And I hope I will learn you well enough to notice those moments without forcing you to become someone you're not. I don't want to fix everything. Sometimes I may not be able to. Sometimes you may not need a solution. You may simply need someone beside you. A hand to hold. A calm voice. A reminder that you're not alone. And I want to learn the difference between solving and supporting. I want to learn when you need advice and when you simply need me to listen. And I hope you will learn the same about me. Because marriage isn't about having two people who always have the answers. It's about having two people who are willing to keep learning one another. And as much as I want you to know my strengths, I also want you to know my limitations. I will not always be the strongest person in the room. I will not always know how to handle every situation perfectly. I will make mistakes. I will misunderstand things. There will be moments when I need to apologize. There will be times when I need to say, I was wrong. And I want to become the kind of man who can say those words without allowing pride to destroy something precious. Because pride can make people choose winning over understanding. It can make someone protect their ego while damaging their relationship. I don't want that. I would rather lose an argument than lose closeness with you. I would rather slow down than say something that leaves a permanent wound. I would rather apologize sincerely than defend myself simply because I don't want to admit I made a mistake. That doesn't mean I will be perfect at it. It means I will keep trying, and I want you to keep trying too, because there will be things about me that you don't immediately understand. There will be habits you have to learn. There will be parts of my personality that take patience. There will be days when I become quiet. There will be days when I need encouragement. And there will be things about you that I won't immediately understand either. But I don't want differences to scare us. I want them to teach us. You may see the world differently than I do. You may solve problems differently. You may communicate differently. You may need something emotionally that I don't naturally understand at first. And instead of saying, "Why can't you just be like me?" I want to learn to ask, "Help me understand how you see this." That question can change everything. Because love is not about making another person into your reflection. It's about learning to appreciate the person they already are. I don't want to erase your individuality. I don't want to control your personality. I don't want to make every decision for you. I want to stand beside you. I want to support your dreams. I want to support your accomplishments. I want to encourage you when you doubt yourself. And when you accomplish something beautiful, I want to be the person cheering the loudest because I know how hard you work to get there. I want to be proud of you without feeling threatened by your success. And I want you to celebrate mine without feeling like my achievements make yours smaller. We can both grow. We can both shine. We can both become better. There's enough room for both of us to become who we are meant to be. And maybe that's one of the greatest things I want you to know about me. I don't want to possess you. I want to partner with you. There's a difference between saying, "You're mine," and saying, "I choose you." One can sound like ownership. The other sounds like commitment. And I want our marriage to be built on choice. Every day, I want the freedom to choose you. And every day, I want to know that you are choosing me. Not because you have no other option. Not because you're afraid to be alone. Not because you're trapped by circumstances. But because we have created something so meaningful that we genuinely want to continue building it. And even then, I know there will be seasons when love doesn't feel exciting. There will be routines. There will be responsibilities. There will be ordinary days. But I don't think ordinary means meaningless. Sometimes the deepest love is found in ordinary things. A cup of coffee placed beside someone without being asked. A text saying, "Did you get home safely?" A hand resting on someone's shoulder during a difficult conversation. A quiet smile across a crowded room. A simple, "I'm proud of you." A whispered, "We've got this." That's the kind of love I want. Not love that only looks beautiful in photographs. Love that feels beautiful when nobody else is watching. And someday, when you see my imperfections clearly, I hope you won't be disappointed because I never promised to be perfect. I promised to be real. And I hope you will let yourself be real with me too. Show me the parts of your heart that you think are too complicated. Tell me about the experiences that shaped you. Tell me what you are afraid of. Tell me what you hope for. Tell me what you need. Tell me when I hurt you. Tell me when you are proud of me. Tell me when you don't understand me. Talk to me, even when you're nervous, even when your voice shakes, even when the conversation is difficult. Because I would rather hear an uncomfortable truth from you than a comfortable lie. I would rather know what's really happening inside your heart than live beside a version of you that is pretending. And I promise that I will keep working toward giving you that same honesty. I will not promise that every part of the journey will be easy. I will not promise that we will never misunderstand each other. I will not promise that I will never disappoint you. But I can promise that I will keep learning. I will keep listening. I will keep growing. I will keep choosing honesty over appearance. And when I fall short, I will not pretend that I didn't. I will face it, because I want the love between us to be stronger than our pride. My future wife, when you finally meet me, I hope you meet the real man, not a performance, not an illusion, not someone trying desperately to prove that he deserves your love. I hope you meet someone who is still growing, but who is willing to grow beside you. Someone who knows that love isn't about perfection. It's about truth. And when we finally stand face to face, I hope we can both take a breath, let down our defenses, and finally say, without pretending, this is me, this is who I am. And then, instead of being afraid of what we find, I hope we choose to build something beautiful from the truth. My future wife, there is something I want you to know about the kind of home I hope we build together. And when I say home, I don't mean a beautiful house, a perfect kitchen, expensive furniture, or a place that looks impressive from the outside. I mean something much deeper than that. I mean a place where your heart can finally exhale. Playing this role has been just as out. Playing this role has been Soulmate. Playing this where you can walk through the door after a difficult day and know that you don't have to carry everything by yourself. I want you to feel safe with me. And I want you to understand what I mean when I say safe, because safety is more than physical protection. It is emotional safety. It is knowing that you can tell me the truth without being punished for telling it. It is knowing that you can make a mistake without immediately feeling like your mistake has changed the way I see you. It is knowing that you can have a bad day without becoming a bad person in my eyes. It is knowing that when we disagree, I will not make you question whether I still love you. I want you to know that my love for you will never be based on your ability to keep me happy every moment of the day. You are not responsible for managing every one of my emotions. You are not responsible for making every day easy. You are not responsible for being cheerful when you're tired. You are not responsible for pretending everything is okay just because we are married. You are allowed to be human. And I want to be safe enough for you that your humanity never becomes something you have to hide. Imagine coming home after a day that exhausted you. Maybe something went wrong at work. Maybe someone said something that hurt you. Maybe you spent the entire day solving problems for everyone else, and by the time you walk through the door, you have nothing left. I don't want you to feel like you have to put on a smile for me. I want you to be able to say, today was hard. And I want my first instinct to be compassion. Not criticism. Not impatience. Not making it about myself. Compassion. I want to look at you and understand that sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is admit that they are tired. And I want you to be able to admit that to me without fear. There may be days when you need silence. I want to respect that. There may be days when you need to talk for an hour. I want to listen. There may be days when you need encouragement. I want to give it. There may be days when you don't even know what you need. I want to be patient enough to stay beside you while you figure it out. Because love is not always knowing the perfect thing to say. Sometimes love is simply refusing to leave the room emotionally when the other person is struggling. Sometimes love is sitting beside someone in silence because words aren't enough. Sometimes love is a hand reaching across the space between two people. Sometimes love is saying, you don't have to handle this alone. That is the kind of marriage I want. And I want to be very careful about something else. I never want to use your vulnerabilities against you. If you tell me about a fear, I don't want to bring it up later to win an argument. If you tell me about something painful from your past, I don't want to use it as a weapon when we're angry. If you confess an insecurity, I don't want that confession to become something I throw back at you. I want the things you tell me in your most vulnerable moments to be protected, because trust is fragile. One careless sentence can damage something that took months or years to build, and I want to treat your heart with care. There will be moments when we disagree. I know that. We are two different people. We will have different opinions, different preferences, different ways of solving problems, and different emotional responses. But I don't want disagreement to become disrespect. I don't want raised voices to become the normal language of our home. I don't want insults. I don't want threats. I don't want either of us saying things simply because we know they will hurt. I don't want us keeping score of every mistake the other person has ever made. I don't want an argument to turn into a courtroom where one person is trying to prove that the other is a terrible human being. I want us to remember the real enemy is the problem, not each other. There will be times when one of us says something poorly. There will be times when one of us misunderstands something. There will be times when emotions become stronger than logic. But even then, I want us to protect each other's dignity. I want to learn how to pause before reacting. I want to learn how to say, I'm upset, but I don't want to hurt you. I want to learn how to say, give me a moment so I can calm down, and then let's talk. I want us to understand that taking a moment is not abandonment. Space does not have to mean rejection. Silence does not have to mean punishment. And an apology does not have to mean defeat. Sometimes an apology is simply love taking responsibility. I want to be able to tell you I was wrong. Not because I'm weak, but because I care more about us than about protecting my pride. And I want you to be able to say the same thing without fearing that I will use your honesty against you. I want our home to be a place where both of us can make mistakes and still find our way back to one another. Because life will test us. There may be financial pressure, there may be health challenges, there may be family situations that stretch us, there may be disappointments we never saw coming. There may be seasons when one of us feels stronger than the other. And I don't want our relationship to collapse simply because life became difficult. I want us to become stronger at carrying difficult seasons together. Maybe there will be a day when you are carrying more than I am, and I become the one who needs to support you. Maybe there will be another day when I am the one struggling, and you will be the person reminding me that I don't have to be strong every second. That is partnership. That is what I want. I don't want a relationship where we are constantly asking, "What can you do for me?" I want a marriage where we ask, "What can I do to help you through this?" And I hope that question becomes natural between us. When you are overwhelmed, I want to notice. When you are discouraged, I want to encourage you. When you are afraid, I want to remind you that fear does not have to make your decisions. When you are proud of something you accomplished, I want to celebrate with you. When you fall short of your expectations, I want to remind you that one failure does not define you. I want to know the dreams you are afraid to say out loud. And I want to be the person who says, "Why not?" I want to support your growth rather than become threatened by it. If you want to learn something new, I want to encourage you. If you want to build something, I want to support you. If you want to change direction in your career or pursue something meaningful, I want us to have the kind of relationship where we can discuss it honestly and make decisions together. I don't want you to feel like marriage means the end of your individuality. I want marriage to give you someone who believes in you, someone who knows your strengths and reminds you of them when you forget. And I want you to do the same for me. Because sometimes love means seeing the potential in someone when they can't see it in themselves. There may be moments when I doubt myself. There may be moments when you doubt yourself. And I hope our marriage becomes a place where you remind one another of what is still possible. But safety also means having boundaries. I want to respect your boundaries, and I want you to respect mine. I don't believe love gives either person permission to control the other. Love does not mean monitoring every move. Love does not mean demanding constant access to every thought. Love does not mean isolating someone from friends or family. Love does not mean making someone feel guilty for having a life outside the relationship. Love means trust. It means two people who can breathe without suspicion. Two people who can maintain friendships and interests while still prioritizing their marriage. Two people who can say, "I need some time for myself," without the other immediately assuming the worst. I want that kind of trust between us. I want you to know that I will never ask you to shrink yourself so that I can feel bigger. I will never want you to become less intelligent so that I can feel smarter. I will never want you to become quieter so that I can always be the loudest voice. I will never want you to stop growing simply because your growth makes me uncomfortable. I want to admire the woman you become. And I want to keep getting to know you even years into our marriage. Because I know that people change. We are not going to be the exact same people at 20 years that we were at the beginning. And that's okay. I don't want to fall in love with one version of you and then resist every version that comes afterward. I want to keep learning who you are becoming. I want to ask new questions. I want to discover new interests. I want to notice changes in your dreams. I want to understand what matters to you in every season of life. Because marriage should not be the end of discovery. It should be the beginning of a lifetime of discovery. And one of the most important things I want to promise you is that I will not abandon the relationship emotionally, simply because life becomes routine. I don't want to become so comfortable that I stop appreciating you. I don't want to assume you know I love you because I've said it 1,000 times before. I want to keep saying it. I want to keep showing it. I want to keep finding little ways to remind you that you matter to me. A note, a thoughtful message, a hug, a surprise, a simple question about your day. Sitting beside you, listening to you talk about something that matters to you, even if I don't understand every detail. I want to stay curious about you, because the person you love deserves to feel remembered, not merely retained. And I hope that when you are beside me, you will never have to compete with the outside world for my attention every moment. Yes, there will be responsibilities. There will be busy schedules. There will be work. There will be distractions. But I want us to protect time for one another. I want us to remember that a strong marriage does not happen accidentally. It is built intentionally. And sometimes that means turning off the phone. Sometimes that means sitting down and asking, "How are you really doing?" Sometimes that means putting everything else aside and simply being present. Presence can be more powerful than 1,000 promises. And someday when you have had a terrible day and you come home, I hope the sight of me makes something inside you relax. I hope my presence reminds you that you don't have to carry everything alone. I hope you know that our marriage is not another place where you have to perform. It is the place where you can rest, the place where you can be honest, the place where your tears do not embarrass me, the place where your success does not threaten me, the place where your weaknesses do not make me love you less, the place where your voice matters, the place where your dreams matter, the place where your dreams matter, the place where your peace matters. And I want the same thing for myself. I want to be able to come home and know that I don't have to pretend either. I want to be able to tell you when something hurts. I want to tell you when I'm afraid. I want to tell you when I don't know what to do. And I want us to have the maturity to help one another without trying to control one another. That is the difference between partnership and dependence. We can support each other without losing ourselves. We can love deeply without demanding perfection. We can be committed without becoming controlling. We can disagree without becoming enemies. We can have boundaries without building walls. And we can have vulnerable moments without being ashamed of them. That is the kind of safety I am dreaming about. Not a perfect home, a peaceful one. Not a relationship without problems. A relationship where problems can be faced together. Not a marriage where nobody ever gets hurt. A marriage where both people care enough to repair what has been hurt. My future wife, more than anything, I want you to know that when you finally stand beside me, you should never have to wonder whether you are safe to be yourself. I want my love to feel like permission to breathe. I want my presence to feel like reassurance. I want my words to build you rather than break you. And when life becomes difficult, I want you to look at me and know without hesitation that you do not have to face it alone. Because one day, when I call you my wife, I don't just want to give you my name or my promises. I want to give you a place in my life where your heart can finally feel at home. My future wife, there is something I want you to understand before we ever become husband and wife. I don't want you to spend your life thinking you have to become perfect for me. I don't want you carrying the pressure of being some impossible ideal that exists only in someone's imagination. I don't want you wondering whether you are beautiful enough, successful enough, graceful enough, intelligent enough, patient enough, or strong enough to deserve my love. Because I am not looking for a perfect woman. I am looking for my person. And there is a difference. A perfect person does not exist. There is no human being who gets everything right, who never becomes frustrated, who never cries at the wrong moment, who never makes a mistake, who always knows exactly what to say, who never gets insecure, who never needs reassurance, and who never has a difficult season. I don't want someone pretending to be that person. I want you, the real you. The woman who will sometimes wake up full of energy and sometimes struggle to get out of bed. The woman who will laugh at something completely ridiculous one day and become emotional over something small the next. The woman who may have a dream that scares her because it feels bigger than anything she has ever attempted. The woman who may have moments when she feels incredibly confident and other moments when she quietly asks herself whether she is enough. That woman is the woman I want to know. Because love, real love, cannot be built on an audition. I don't want you walking into my life feeling like you have to prove yourself. I don't want you studying me and thinking, what does he want me to be? I want you asking yourself, can I be completely honest here? And I hope the answer becomes yes. I want you to know that there's room for your whole personality in my life. There's room for your laughter. There's room for your seriousness. There's room for your ambition. There is room for your softness. There is room for your independence. There is room for your questions. There is room for your opinions. There is room for your opinions. There is room for your dreams. There is room for your imperfections. There is room for your growth. Because I don't want to marry an image. I want to know a human being. And human beings are complicated. We don't always know what we feel. We don't always react perfectly. Sometimes we need time. Sometimes we need space. Sometimes we need reassurance. Sometimes we need a second chance, and I want our relationship to be strong enough to make room for those realities. There is a difference between having standards and expecting perfection. I absolutely want us to have values. I want honesty between us. I want respect. I want loyalty. I want kindness. I want accountability. I want commitment. I want both of us to take responsibility when we hurt one another. I want us to be serious about the kind of life we are building. But I never want those values to turn into impossible demands. I never want you to feel like you have to be flawless every day to remain loved. I never want you to feel like one mistake erases everything beautiful about you. And I don't want to hold myself to that impossible standard either. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to misunderstand things. We are going to have moments when our emotions are stronger than our wisdom. But I believe what matters most is what we do after those moments. Do we become defensive? Do we blame each other? Do we withdraw? Or do we come back? Do we listen? Do we apologize? Do we learn? Do we become better? That is the kind of love I want. A love that does not demand perfection, but does demand growth. Because I don't need you to be perfect. But I do want you to be willing to grow. And I want to promise that I will be willing to grow too. I want to become more patient because loving someone well requires patience. I want to become more emotionally mature because marriage requires understanding. I want to become better at communication because silence cannot solve every problem. I want to become more attentive because people sometimes communicate more through what they do than what they say. And I want to become humble because no relationship can survive if both people are determined to always be right. I don't want to ask you to become something I refuse to become myself. That would not be fair. So when I say I'm not looking for perfection, I'm not saying I don't care about character. I care deeply. I want a woman who is honest, a woman who knows how to take responsibility, a woman who can say, I was wrong, a woman who can celebrate someone else's success without feeling threatened, a woman who can speak her mind without disrespecting someone else, a woman who knows that kindness is not weakness, a woman who knows that boundaries are healthy, a woman who understands that love is not simply something you feel when everything is easy. That matters to me. But even with all those values, I still want you to be yourself. Maybe you will love things I don't understand. Maybe you will have hobbies that I would never choose for myself. Maybe your idea of a perfect day will be completely different from mine. Maybe you will have a style I didn't expect. Maybe you will have dreams that surprise me. Maybe your personality will challenge some of my assumptions. And I hope I won't see those differences as problems that need to be corrected. I hope I will see them as opportunities to know you more deeply. Because one of the most beautiful things about loving someone is discovering a world that existed before you entered it. You will have memories I wasn't part of. You will have experiences I never witnessed. You will have friendships I don't fully understand. You will have fears that began before I knew your name. You will have dreams you carried long before I ever appeared in your life. And I don't want to erase any of that. I want to learn about it. I want you to tell me about the little girl you once were. I want to hear about the things you wanted to become. I want to know what inspired you. I want to know what inspired you. I want to know what made you strong. I want to know which moments made you change. Because loving you means becoming curious about the person you are, not simply becoming attached to the role you play in my life. You are not just my wife. You are a person. A complete person. A complete person. And I want to remember that. I never want you to feel like your entire identity disappears because you married me. I don't want marriage to make you smaller. I want it to give you a deeper sense of security from which you can grow. I want to see you become more confident. I want to see you chase meaningful goals. I want to see you develop talents you didn't know you had. I want to see you walk into rooms with confidence because you know that your worth was never dependent on my approval. And I want you to know that your success will never make me feel less like a man. If anything, I want to be proud of the woman beside me. I want to celebrate you without competition. I want to cheer when you win. I want to support you when you struggle. I want to remind you of your strength when you forget it. And I want you to do the same for me, because I don't think love should create a competition between two people. I think it should create a team. Your success can be our joy. My success can be your joy. My success can be your joy. Your dream can become something I encourage. My dream can become something you encourage. And together, we can build something neither of us could have built alone. But even then, I don't want our relationship to become dependent on constant achievement. You don't have to accomplish something extraordinary every day to deserve love. You don't have to walk into every room and prove that you are the smartest person there. You don't have to build a remarkable career to have value. You don't have to look perfect every morning. You don't have to be productive every minute. You are already worthy of dignity. You are already worthy of respect. You are already worthy of tenderness. And I want my love to reinforce that, not undermine it. There may be seasons when your greatest accomplishment is simply making it through the day. There may be periods when you need more rest than ambition. There may be moments when you don't feel inspiring. And I don't want my love to disappear during those moments. I want it to become steadier. Because if I only love the strongest version of you, then I am not really loving you. I am loving your performance. And that is not what I want. I want to know your tired face, your uncertain voice, your thoughtful silence, your ridiculous laugh, your frustrated expression, your excited stories, your nervous moments, your peaceful moments, your serious moments, your weird little habits that probably nobody else understands. I want to know all of it. And I hope over time you will know all of me too. Because there is something incredibly freeing about being loved by someone who already knows the things you thought would make them leave. I want to create that freedom between us. I want you to think he knows me and he still chooses me. And I want to experience that from you too. That is more powerful than being admired. Admiration can change with circumstances, but genuine acceptance creates roots. It says, I see you. Not, I see an idealized version of you. Not, I see what you could become. I see you. And I want to look at you that way for the rest of my life, even as you change, even as you grow older, even as your priorities change, even as your appearance changes, even as life leaves marks on both of us. Because I don't want to make a promise only to the version of you I first meet. I want to keep choosing the woman you become. And that will require attention. It will require curiosity. It will require humility. It will require me to continue asking questions instead of assuming I already know everything about you. I never want to become so familiar with you that I stop noticing you. I don't want years together to make me careless. I don't want routine to convince me that I already know everything there is to know. People evolve. Hearts change, dreams change, circumstances change, and love must learn how to grow with those changes. So there may come a day when you tell me, I don't think I want what I once wanted, and instead of immediately panicking, I hope I can listen. Maybe your priorities changed. Maybe something happened that changed how you see the world. Maybe a dream that once mattered no longer does. Maybe a new dream has appeared. I want to be part of that conversation, not the person who says, but that's not the woman I married. I want to be the person who says, tell me more. Because I don't want to marry your past self and demand that she remain frozen in time. I want to grow beside you, and I hope you will allow me to grow too. There are things about me you will discover years after we meet. There will be habits I change, ideas I reconsider, weaknesses I outgrow, strengths I develop. I hope you will notice those changes. I hope you will encourage them. And when I fall backward, I hope you will help me remember how far I've already come. I want us to become a safe place for growth. But playing this role has been the most humbling affairs. The change will lead to rejection, because sometimes we become better people precisely because someone believed we could. Maybe there will be a day when you are struggling with an insecurity, and I will remind you of a strength you can't see. Maybe there will be a day when I doubt myself, and you will remind me of something I have forgotten. That is what I mean when I say I want my person. I don't mean someone who agrees with me all the time. I mean someone who knows me deeply enough to challenge me when I need it. Someone who can say, I think you're wrong, without making me feel unloved. Someone who can disagree with me without trying to destroy me. Someone who can tell me the truth because she knows the relationship is strong enough to survive honesty. That kind of person is rare, and that kind of relationship is worth protecting. So no, my future wife, I am not searching for perfection. I am searching for authenticity. I am searching for kindness. I am searching for emotional courage. I am searching for a woman who can laugh at me, disagree with me, dream with me, and grow with me. A woman who doesn't pretend to have everything figured out. A woman who is willing to keep learning. A woman who understands that a beautiful marriage is not created because two perfect people found each other. It is created because two imperfect people refuse to stop choosing one another while they grow. And that is what I hope we become. Not perfect, real, not flawless, faithful, not constantly impressive. Deeply connected. I don't want you to wake up every morning wondering whether you are enough for me. I want you to wake up knowing that you are loved, respected, and appreciated. And I want you to know that I will never ask you to become someone else simply to make loving you easier. I want to discover you. I want to discover you. I want to understand you. I want to appreciate what makes you different. I want to learn how your heart works. And when I discover the parts of you that are still healing, I don't want to run. I want to respond with compassion. When I discover the parts of you that are still growing, I don't want to criticize. I want to encourage. When I discover the parts of you that are completely different from me, I don't want to fear them. I want to understand them. Because the woman I am waiting for is not some impossible fantasy. She is a real person. And real people are messy, beautiful, complicated, vulnerable, funny, determined, uncertain, courageous, and still becoming. And maybe that's exactly what makes love beautiful. Two people who know they're imperfect, and yet still look at one another and say, I choose you. So when the day finally comes and you are standing in front of me, I hope you never wonder whether you need to become perfect to keep my heart. You won't. Bring me your real smile. Bring me your tired days. Bring me your dreams. Bring me your doubts. Bring me the parts you are proud of and the parts you are still learning to love. And I will do my best to bring you the same honesty. Because I don't need a perfect woman. I need the woman whose heart I can know, whose life I can honor, whose dreams I can support, whose hand I can hold, and whose real, imperfect, beautiful self I can choose again and again. I am not waiting for perfection. I am waiting for my person, and when I find you, I hope we will spend the rest of our lives reminding each other that being real was always more beautiful than being perfect. My future wife, there is something else I have been thinking about when I imagine the life we might someday build together. I don't just want to have a relationship with you. I don't just want to fall in love, enjoy beautiful moments, take photographs, celebrate anniversaries, and tell people that you are my wife. I want something much deeper than that. I want to build a life with you. And when I say a life, I mean all of it. The beautiful parts, the ordinary parts, the unexpected parts, the difficult parts, the moments that make us laugh until we can't breathe, and the moments that leave us sitting quietly because neither of us knows what to say. I want all of it. Because I don't believe the greatest love story is simply about two people having strong feelings for each other. I believe it is about two people choosing to build something together, brick by brick, day by day, decision by decision. I want to wake up one day years from now and realize that we didn't just collect romantic memories. We built a home. We built trust. We built traditions. We built friendships. We built a life that reflects who we are. And I want that life to begin with the understanding that neither of us will be arriving as a finished product. We will be bringing our hopes, dreams, responsibilities, fears, habits, and imperfections into the same future. I want to know what kind of life you dream about. Not just the glamorous version, not just the vacation photographs or the perfect house or the exciting experiences. I want to know what an ordinary Tuesday looks like in your dream life. What time do you like waking up? Do you enjoy slow mornings or busy mornings? Do you want music playing in the kitchen? Do you like quiet evenings? Do you imagine having a family gathering every weekend? Do you dream about traveling? Do you want to live somewhere peaceful? Do you want to build a career you are passionate about? Do you want a home filled with people, laughter, and noise? Or do you imagine something quieter? I want to know. Because when you become my wife, your vision for life won't suddenly become unimportant because we are married. It will become part of the conversation. And I want us to have those conversations, and I want us to have those conversations often. I want us to sit together and ask questions like, what are we building? Where do we want to go? What matters most to us? What kind of people do we want to become? What kind of home do we want to create? What do we want our life to feel like, not just look like? Those questions matter. Because sometimes people spend so much time planning the appearance of a life that they forget to build the substance of one. I don't care if our life looks perfect from the outside. I care that it feels meaningful on the inside. I would rather have a small home filled with peace than a beautiful home filled with tension. I would rather have ordinary meals where we laugh together than expensive dinners where we barely speak. I would rather have a simple life where we genuinely enjoy being together than an impressive life where we're constantly exhausted trying to prove something. I want us to learn the difference between having a lot and having enough. I want us to define success for ourselves. Maybe success means having time together. Maybe it means being financially responsible. Maybe it means helping our families. Maybe it means traveling to places we've always dreamed about. Maybe it means building something that serves other people. Maybe it means raising children who know they are loved. Maybe it means creating a peaceful home where people feel welcome. Whatever our version becomes, I want it to be ours. Not something the world tells us we should want, and there will be responsibilities. I know that. Love does not remove responsibilities. Marriage does not magically make bills disappear. It does not eliminate stress. It does not make difficult decisions easier. It doesn't guarantee that every dream will happen on schedule. But I want to face those realities with you. When something difficult happens, I don't want us to stand on opposite sides of the problem. I want us standing together, looking at the problem and saying, how are we going to handle this? That word matters. We, not you, not me, you, us. I want that word to become part of the foundation of our marriage. When life is beautiful, we celebrate together. When life is difficult, we face it together. When one of us succeeds, both of us can be proud. When one of us fails, the other doesn't disappear. When an opportunity comes, we discuss it. When a challenge appears, we work through it. When a decision affects both of us, we make it together. That's partnership. And I want to become better at partnership than I am at simply being independent. Because there is a temptation to think that strength means doing everything alone. But marriage teaches you something different. Sometimes strength means admitting you need help. Sometimes strength means saying, I can't carry this by myself today. Sometimes strength means trusting another person enough to share the weight. I want you to know that if there is a day when you are carrying something heavy, I want you to hand part of that weight to me. Not because I think I can fix everything. I can't. But because you should never feel like you have to carry everything alone simply because you are my wife. And I want the same from you. There may be days when I need your support. There may be seasons when my confidence disappears. There may be moments when something happens that changes the way I see myself. I want to be able to come to you without feeling ashamed. And I want to be able to support you without making you feel weak for needing support. That is what building a life together means to me. It means knowing that the burden doesn't always have to be carried equally every single day. Sometimes I will carry more. Sometimes you will. And that's okay. Because equality in a marriage isn't about keeping score of who did more yesterday. It's about knowing that both people are committed to giving what they can in the season they are in. There may be times when you need more from me. There may be times when I need more from you. We shouldn't keep a calculator between our hearts. We should keep communication. We should keep generosity. We should keep understanding. And there's something else I hope we build together. Traditions. Little things that belong only to us. Maybe Friday nights become our special time. Maybe we have a favorite restaurant. Maybe we take long walks and talk about everything. Maybe every birthday comes with some ridiculous tradition that makes us laugh. Maybe we have songs that remind us of certain seasons. Maybe we create holiday traditions that our family eventually looks forward to every year. Those things may seem small, but small things become memories, and memories become the language of a shared life. I want to wake up years from now and have hundreds of little stories that only we understand. A joke that started during an ordinary afternoon. A place we visited when we were younger. A meal we tried and immediately regretted. A song we couldn't stop singing. A night when everything went wrong and somehow became one of our favorite memories. I want those stories. I want to know that our relationship has depth because we experienced life together, not because everything was perfect. There will be seasons when we are busy. Maybe work will demand a lot from us. Maybe responsibilities will pile up. Maybe our schedules will become difficult. Maybe we will go through seasons where romance doesn't look like candlelight and roses. And that's why I want us to understand that love cannot depend entirely on convenience. Sometimes love is choosing to make time. Sometimes it is turning off the television and asking, how are you really feeling? Sometimes it is putting the phone down. Sometimes it is postponing something less important because the relationship needs attention. I want us to protect what we build because something valuable can still be lost if it is neglected. I don't want us to become strangers who happen to live in the same house. I want us to continue dating each other, even after years, even after routines, even after responsibilities, even after life becomes familiar. I want to keep discovering you. I want to ask you out. I want to surprise you sometimes. I want to make you laugh. I want to hear about your day. I want to know what you're thinking about, because marriage should never become an excuse to stop putting effort into love. And I want that same effort from you, not because I need constant entertainment, but because intentional love reminds two people that they still matter to each other. I also want us to build a life where we can dream bigger than ourselves. Maybe there will be things we can do together that neither of us could have done alone. Maybe we can help people. Maybe we can encourage others. Maybe we can create a home that welcomes people who need somewhere to belong. Maybe we can leave something behind that is bigger than the two of us. I don't know exactly what that will look like, but I hope our marriage becomes more than a private arrangement. I hope our love has a positive impact on the people around us. I hope people who spend time with us feel something peaceful, something genuine, something that reminds them that love can be kind, that commitment can be beautiful, that two people can disagree and still respect each other, that marriage can be a partnership rather than a competition. And if one day we have children, I want them to grow up seeing that. I want them to see two people who apologize, two people who laugh, two people who work together, two people who can disagree without destroying each other, two people who continue choosing each other. I want our home to teach by example. I want the atmosphere of our home to say, "You are safe here." And whether or not children are part of our story, I want that principle to remain, because the life we build together will influence us both. And that's why I want to be intentional about what we bring into it. I don't want our home filled with constant resentment. I don't want social media comparisons to determine our worth. I don't want outside expectations to dictate every decision. I want us to have conversations about what we want and why we want it. Maybe our priorities will change over time. That's okay, we can adjust. We can learn, we can make mistakes. We can start again. Life is not a straight line. There will be unexpected turns. There will be moments when the plan changes. There will be doors that close. There will be opportunities we never imagined. And when those moments come, I don't want to panic. I want us to look at each other and remember that the most important part of our future isn't the plan. It's us. A job can change. A city can change. A house can change. A financial situation can change. A dream can change. But I want the foundation of our partnership to remain strong enough to adapt. Because I don't want to love you only when life matches the plan. I want to love you through the changes. Maybe one day we will look at the life we imagined when we were younger and realize almost none of it happened exactly the way we expected. And that's okay. Maybe something better happened. Maybe something unexpected gave us a story we never would have written ourselves. Sometimes the beauty of life comes from what we never planned, and I want to be open to that. I want us to leave room for surprise, room for growth, room for grace, room for new beginnings. And while I dream about the future, I don't want to forget the present. I don't want to spend all my time chasing the next milestone. I want to enjoy the day we are actually living. I want to notice the little things. A morning conversation, a shared meal, a walk after dinner, a random laugh, a quiet moment when we realize we are sitting beside the person we once prayed to meet. Because one day, I hope we'll look back and realize that the life we were waiting for was being built in those tiny moments. Not at the wedding, not on the honeymoon, not in the photographs, but afterward, in the mornings, in the evenings, in the conversations, in the choices, in the forgiveness, in the patience, in the laughter, in the ordinary. That's where I believe a real marriage becomes beautiful. My future wife, when I say I want to build a life with you, I don't mean I want to control the future. I mean I want to participate in it with you. I want to hear your voice when decisions are made. I want your dreams to have a place in our plans. I want my dreams to have a place in yours. I want us to create something that neither of us could honestly call mine or yours. I want us to have something we can call ours, our home, our memories, our traditions, our challenges, our victories, our mistakes, our growth, our story. And when the years pass, I don't want to measure our marriage only by the biggest moments. I want to measure it by how often we chose kindness, how often we listened, how often we laughed, how often we forgave, how often we supported each other, how often we supported each other, how often we remembered that we were on the same team. Because someday when we are older and the years have changed both of us, I hope we can sit together and look around at everything we built and say, it wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And we built it together. That's the kind of life I want with you. A life that isn't merely impressive from the outside, but deeply meaningful from within. A life filled with ordinary moments that became extraordinary simply because we experienced them together. And when that life finally begins, I hope I never forget that the greatest thing I built was not the house we lived in, not the career we created, not the possessions we collected, but the trust between us and the love we chose to protect. Because when everything else changes, I want us to still have each other, and to know that whatever comes next, we will face it together. My future wife, there is something I need you to understand about the life I hope we will build together. I don't expect every day to be easy. I don't expect our marriage to be a beautiful story without difficult chapters. I don't expect us to agree on everything, feel the same way about everything, or always know exactly what to do when life becomes complicated. Because the truth is, there will be hard days. There will be mornings when one of us wakes up already exhausted. There will be conversations that neither of us wants to have. There will be plans that fall apart. There will be moments when disappointment enters our home. There may be financial pressure, family problems, unexpected responsibilities, broken expectations, and seasons when one of us feels emotionally stronger than the other. And when those days come, I don't want to run. I don't want you to run either. I want us to remember why we chose each other in the first place. I want us to remember that difficult seasons do not automatically mean we chose the wrong person. Sometimes life is difficult because life is difficult. Sometimes a problem is simply a problem. It doesn't have to become a verdict on the marriage. It doesn't have to become proof that the love has disappeared. It doesn't have to become an excuse to abandon everything beautiful we built together. I want to be the kind of man who understands that, because I know it is easy to love when everything is going well. It's easy to say beautiful words when both people are smiling. It's easy to make promises when the future feels exciting, but commitment becomes real when the excitement fades and the responsibility begins. And I want you to know that I am not dreaming about a marriage that works only when life is comfortable. I am dreaming about a marriage that knows how to survive uncomfortable seasons. I want us to learn how to stay connected when we are under pressure. I want us to learn how to talk when our first instinct is silence. I want us to learn how to listen when our emotions are telling us to defend ourselves. I want us to learn how to pause before saying something that cannot be taken back. Because words matter. Sometimes one sentence spoken in anger can leave a scar much larger than the argument itself. And I never want to become careless with your heart simply because I am upset. You may make me angry someday. I may disappoint you someday. We may both say things we wish we had said differently. But I want our commitment to be stronger in the moment. I want us to know that anger is temporary, but words can remain. So I want us to learn when to pause, to breathe, to step away for a moment if necessary. Not to punish each other, not to create fear, but to calm ourselves enough that we can come back and talk like two people who still love one another. There is a difference between taking space and abandoning someone. I want us to know that difference. There may be moments when one of us says, I need a little time to think. And I want the other person to understand that this doesn't necessarily mean, I don't love you anymore. Sometimes it means, I care enough about this conversation that I don't want my emotions to control what I say. I want us to develop that kind of emotional maturity. Because marriage will teach us things about ourselves that we never expected to learn. You will discover things about me that I don't even know yet. And I will discover things about you. Some of those discoveries will be beautiful. Some may be difficult. There may be habits that frustrate you. There may be habits of yours that challenge me. There may be differences in how we communicate. Maybe you process emotions by talking. Maybe I process them by becoming quiet. Maybe you want to solve a problem immediately. Maybe I need time. Maybe one of us wants to discuss every detail while the other wants to focus on the bigger picture. None of that means we are enemies. It means we are two human beings learning how to live together. And I want to learn you. I don't want to assume that my way is the only right way. I don't want to force you into my way of thinking simply because it is familiar to me. I want to understand where you are coming from, because sometimes winning an argument can cost you something far more valuable. Closeness, trust, peace. And I don't want to win at the expense of us. I would rather find a solution that protects both our hearts than prove that I was right. That doesn't mean ignoring important problems. It means remembering that the problem is something we can face together. I don't want the sentence to be, "You are the problem." I want the sentence to be, "We have a problem. Let's figure it out." That tiny difference can change the entire atmosphere of a marriage. I want us to be on the same side. Even when we disagree, even when we are frustrated, even when we don't understand each other. And there is something else I want you to know. There may be moments when one of us feels weak, and I don't want weakness to become a reason for shame. Maybe one day you will be going through something that makes you feel like you cannot carry another thing. Maybe you will feel overwhelmed. Maybe you will question yourself. Maybe you will feel like you're failing. And I want to be the man who reminds you that a difficult season does not define your identity. I want to say, you don't have to have everything figured out today. I want to remind you that resting is not failing. Asking for help is not failing. Crying is not failing. Changing direction is not failing. Needing support is not failing. And I hope you will give me that same grace when my difficult season comes. Because it will. I will have moments when I don't know what to do. There may be days when I question my decisions. There may be seasons when I feel behind. There may be situations where I'm frightened, but don't know how to explain it. And when that happens, I don't want to hide from you. I want to know that I can come home and say, "I'm struggling." And instead of seeing that as weakness, you will understand that I am trusting you. That is what partnership means to me. It means being strong for each other when strength is needed, and being gentle with each other when gentleness is needed. Sometimes I will be the strong one. Sometimes you will. And sometimes neither of us will feel particularly strong. On those days, we can lean on each other. We don't have to pretend. We don't have to perform. We don't have to prove anything. We can simply say, "Let's get through today together." And sometimes that will be enough. I also want us to remember that difficult seasons are not always dramatic. Sometimes the hardest seasons are quiet. A slow distance, a lack of communication, busy schedules, routine, stress that gradually changes someone's mood. Two people who still love each other but stop asking how the other person is really doing. I don't want us to wait until the relationship is in crisis before we start paying attention. I want us to notice the small signs. If you become quieter, I want to ask why. If I seem distant, I want you to ask me what is happening. If something feels different between us, I want us to talk about it before resentment has time to grow. Because problems rarely become smaller simply because we ignore them. Sometimes they become heavier. And I want us to be brave enough to address things while they are still manageable. That means uncomfortable conversations. It means saying things like, "I felt hurt by that." It means hearing, "I didn't realize I was doing that." It means saying, "Can we try this differently?" It means admitting, "I thought I understood you, but I didn't." And maybe most importantly, it means learning how to apologize. A real apology. Not one that says, "I'm sorry you felt that way," but one that says, "I understand that what I did hurt you, and I take responsibility for my part." I want to learn that kind of apology, because saying sorry is not about losing. It's about loving. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who can put down their pride and say, "I was wrong." I want to be that person. And I want us to create a marriage where an apology opens a door instead of starting another argument. Of course, forgiveness will matter too. There will be things we need to forgive, not because they didn't matter, not because the pain wasn't real, but because we don't want to live forever inside the worst moment of our relationship. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means deciding that the mistake will not be allowed to control the rest of the story. I want us to learn from what hurts us without becoming prisoners of it. I want us to remember our mistakes without constantly punishing each other for them. Because if we keep bringing every old wound into every new argument, we will never be able to move forward. And I don't want to build a marriage where the past is constantly being used as ammunition. I want the past to become wisdom, not a weapon. There will also be seasons when outside circumstances test us. Maybe work becomes overwhelming. Maybe one of us loses a job. Maybe we have to change plans. Maybe someone in our family needs us. Maybe an opportunity requires a sacrifice. Maybe something we had been counting on simply doesn't happen. In those moments, I want us to remember that our relationship is not the problem to solve. It is the place from which we solve the problem. I want to sit beside you and say, okay, this isn't what we expected, so what do we do now? Maybe we need to make a new plan. Maybe we need to cut back. Maybe we need to wait. Maybe we need to ask for help. Maybe we need to start again. Whatever it is, I want us to face it as a team. I don't want you wondering, what if he blames me? I want you thinking, we're going to figure this out. And when the problem is mine, I want you to know you can tell me the truth. I don't want you protecting my feelings so much that you stop being honest. There may be moments when I need to hear something uncomfortable, and I want to become mature enough to hear it. Not every difficult truth is an attack. Sometimes the person who loves you most is the person willing to tell you what you don't want to hear because they care about who you are becoming. I want that kind of honesty between us. But honesty without kindness can become cruelty. So I want both, truth and tenderness, accountability and compassion, strength and gentleness. Those things don't have to compete. They can exist together. And perhaps one of the hardest things we will ever have to learn is that loving someone doesn't mean agreeing with them all the time. There may be decisions where we see things differently. There may be moments when you believe I am wrong. There may be moments when I believe you are wrong. But disagreement doesn't have to become disrespect. We can say, I see it differently, without saying, you are stupid. We can say, I don't agree, without saying, your feelings don't matter. We can have different perspectives and still love deeply. And sometimes, one of us will need to change their mind. That's okay too. Changing your mind after learning something new is not weakness, it's wisdom. I want us to value understanding more than ego, because the goal of a marriage conversation should not always be to determine who wins. Sometimes the goal is simply to understand. Maybe we don't leave every disagreement with the exact same opinion, but we can leave knowing each other better, and that matters. My future wife, I know there will be hard days. I know there will be moments when you wonder whether we can get through something. There may even be moments when I wonder the same. But when those moments come, I want us to remember that difficult does not mean impossible, and pain does not automatically mean the end. Sometimes difficult seasons become the chapters we later look back on and say, that was when we learned how strong we really were. Maybe the hardest year will teach us patience. Maybe the difficult conversation will teach us honesty. Maybe the financial struggle will teach us gratitude. Maybe the disappointment will teach us resilience. Maybe the season when one of us felt weak will teach us what true partnership really means. I don't want to romanticize suffering. I don't want us to remain in situations that are genuinely harmful. But I do want us to understand that ordinary difficulties should not frighten us away from commitment. A strong marriage isn't one that never experiences storms. It's one where two people learn how to face the storm without turning against each other. And when you are tired, I want to remind you why we started. When I am tired, I hope you remind me too. When you forget how far you've come, I want to remind you. When I forget, I want you to remind me. We can become each other's memory when exhaustion makes it hard to see clearly. We can hold hope for each other when one person temporarily runs out of it. And maybe that's what love is at its deepest level. Not simply making someone happy, but helping them remember who they are when life makes them forget. My future wife, I don't promise that I will never fail you. I don't promise that every problem will have an easy answer. I don't promise that every season will feel romantic. But I can promise this, I will not treat hard days as permission to stop trying. I will keep learning. I will keep listening. I will keep communicating. I will keep taking responsibility. I will keep towing the relationship. And when life becomes difficult, I want you to know that you won't have to look across the room and wonder whether I'm still on your side. I want you to look at me and know that I am. Because when we promised to walk through life together, I hope we meant more than the beautiful chapters. I hope we meant all of them. The joyful ones, the uncertain ones, the exhausting ones, the exhausting ones, the exhausting ones, the unexpected ones, the chapters where we have answers, and the chapters where we don't. So, my future wife, when the hard days come, and I know they will, I don't want us to ask, how do we escape this? I want us to ask, how do we walk through this together? And whatever the answer is, I want to face it beside you, with patience in my heart, honesty in my words, and the promise that even when life gets difficult, I will keep choosing us. My future wife, there is one promise I hope you will always remember, especially on the days when everything feels ordinary, when the excitement of a new beginning has become the familiarity of everyday life, and when we've already shared so many memories that it becomes easy to forget just how precious the person beside us really is. I want you to know that I will keep choosing you. Not just once, not just on the day we stand together and make promises, not just when I look at you and everything feels easy. I want to keep choosing you in the little moments, the difficult moments, the uncertain moments, and the ordinary moments that nobody else will ever see. Because I am beginning to understand that love is not simply something you feel. Love is something you practice. It is something you demonstrate. It is something you choose when the feeling is strong, and it is something you protect when the feeling is quiet. There will be days when loving you feels effortless. There will be mornings when I wake up and feel overwhelmingly grateful that somehow our paths crossed. There will be moments when I look at you and think about how incredible it is that two separate lives became one shared story. But there may also be days when we are exhausted, days when responsibilities consume our attention, days when one of us is distracted, days when we have been arguing, days when life feels heavier than romance. And on those days, I don't want to forget you. I don't want familiarity to become carelessness. I don't want comfort to become laziness. I don't want the fact that you are my wife to make me stop doing the things that made you feel loved in the first place. I want to keep noticing you. I want to keep asking how you are doing. I want to keep listening when you tell me something that matters to you. I want to keep remembering the little things, the things you like, the things you don't like, the things you don't like, the things that make you laugh, the things that make you nervous, the dreams you are chasing, the dreams you are still afraid to chase. I want to keep learning you even after years have passed, because I don't ever want to become the kind of man who says, I already know everything about her. You are not a book that I finish reading. You are a person who continues to grow. And if I love you properly, I will continue to discover who you are becoming. Maybe the woman I marry will have dreams that change 10 years later. Maybe your priorities will shift. Maybe something you once wanted won't matter anymore. Maybe a new passion will enter your life. Maybe you will discover something about yourself that you never knew before. And I want to be there for those changes. I don't want to hold you hostage to an older version of yourself. I don't want to say, that isn't the woman I married. I want to say, tell me who you're becoming. I want to know. Because choosing you means choosing your growth too. It means understanding that we are both going to change. And instead of becoming afraid of that change, I want us to walk through it together. I also want to keep choosing you when we disagree. Because disagreement is not a sign that the relationship has failed. Sometimes two people can love one another deeply and still see a situation differently. Sometimes you will think I am wrong. Sometimes I will think you are wrong. And maybe on some days both of us will be partially right. But I don't want our disagreements to become competitions. I don't want to think, how can I win this? I want to think, how can we understand each other? That difference matters. Because if I win an argument but you walk away feeling small, what did I really win? If I prove my point but damage your trust, was the victory worth it? If I make you feel unheard simply because I wanted to be right, then I have chosen my ego over our relationship. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep choosing you over my pride. That doesn't mean I will always agree with you. It means I will respect you even when I disagree. It means I will listen. It means I will slow down. It means I will remember that the person standing across from me is not my enemy. You are the person I chose. You are the person whose heart I promised to protect. And if I ever forget that, in a heated moment, I want to come back to it. I want us to learn how to repair it because we will make mistakes. We will hurt each other, sometimes, even without intending to. There will be words that come out wrong. There will be assumptions. There will be moments when we don't notice what the other person needs. And when those moments come, I don't want our pride to keep us separated. I want to be able to come to you and say, I know I hurt you. Not, but you made me do it. Not, you hurt me first. Not, you hurt me first. Not, you are too sensitive. Just, I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I want my apology to mean something because it is followed by action. I want to learn from my mistakes. I want to change the behavior that caused the pain. Because saying sorry without changing anything isn't enough. And when you make mistakes, I hope I can give you that same grace. Not endless excuses, not ignoring harmful behavior, but grace. A willingness to believe that people can grow. A willingness to allow someone to learn from what they did. A willingness to recognize that one mistake does not always define an entire person. I want us to be honest enough to hold each other accountable and compassionate enough to remember that we are both human. That balance matters, because I don't want to build a marriage where forgiveness means pretending nothing happened. I want forgiveness to mean that something happened, we faced it, we learned from it, we repaired what we could, and we refused to let that moment become the permanent definition of our relationship. I want us to move forward. Together. I want to choose you in the moments when you need patience. There may be days when you repeat yourself. There may be days when you are emotional about something I don't fully understand. There may be days when you need reassurance about something that seems small to me but feels enormous to you. And on those days, I hope I remember that your feelings don't have to make perfect sense to me before they deserve compassion. I don't have to fully understand why something hurts you in order to care that it hurts you. I want to learn that. I want to become better at saying, I may not see it the same way, but I understand that it matters to you. That kind of sentence can prevent so much unnecessary pain. And I want you to learn the same about me, because sometimes I may need support for something that you don't naturally understand. Maybe I won't explain it perfectly. Maybe I won't know how to say what is happening inside me. But I hope you will be patient. I hope you will stay curious. I hope you will ask questions rather than make assumptions. I want us to become students of one another, always learning, always listening, always adjusting. And I think that is what choosing someone really means. It means saying, I know who you are today, but I am also willing to meet the person you become tomorrow. I want to choose you through change, through success, through disappointment, through new beginnings, through seasons of confidence, through seasons of uncertainty, through the times when you feel beautiful, through the times when you don't, through the moments when you know exactly what you want, through the moments when you are still figuring it out. I don't want my commitment to depend on your ability to stay the same. I want it to be strong enough to grow with you. And there is another part of choosing you that matters to me. I want to choose you when nobody is watching. It is easy to be affectionate in public. It is easy to say beautiful things when people are listening. It is easy to look like a loving husband when there is a camera nearby. But character is revealed in private, when we are alone, when there is no audience. When there is nothing to gain, that is where I want my love to become real. I want to speak respectfully to you when nobody else can hear. I want to protect your dignity when nobody else would know if I didn't. I want to honor your trust. I want to keep the promises I make quietly, not just the promises that sound impressive. I want you to know that my commitment does not depend on who is watching. I want to be the same man privately that I claim to be publicly. Because you deserve consistency. You deserve a love that doesn't switch on and off depending on the circumstances. And I want to give you that. I also want to choose you by making time. Because sometimes love isn't about dramatic gestures. Sometimes love is simply being available. Putting down the phone. Closing the laptop. Looking into your eyes. Listening to a story you've already told me because I know it still matters to you. Taking a walk. Sharing a meal. Sitting beside you after a long day, asking, how are you really doing? I want to keep making room for you, because there will always be something demanding our attention. Work, responsibilities, messages, schedules, problems, plans. And if we are careful, life can become so busy that the relationship gets whatever energy remains. I don't want that. I don't want you to receive the leftovers of my attention. I want you to receive some of my best attention. Not every minute of every day, that wouldn't be realistic, but enough that you know you matter, enough that you feel remembered, enough that you feel chosen. And I want you to know that I don't expect you to give me every part of yourself either. I want us to have healthy space. I want you to have your own interests, your own friendships, your own thoughts, your own time. Choosing you does not mean controlling you. It means trusting you. It means giving you freedom while remaining committed to the relationship. It means knowing that love can be secure without becoming possessive. And when you are free to be yourself, I believe the choice becomes even more meaningful. Because I don't want you with me, because you have no other option. I want you with me because you want to be. And I want to earn that choice, not assume it. Earn it, again and again, by how I speak, by how I treat you, by how I respond when things get difficult, by whether my actions match my words. I know I won't always get it right, but I want the direction of my life to be toward love, humility, responsibility, and commitment. And when I fail, I want to get back up. When I disappoint you, I want to repair. When I misunderstand you, I want to learn. When you disappoint me, I want to communicate instead of withdrawing. When you make a mistake, I want to respond with honesty and grace. Because commitment isn't proven by never having a reason to leave. Sometimes commitment is proven by having a reason to be patient and choosing patience. Again, that doesn't mean staying in something harmful. It means understanding the difference between ordinary difficulty and something that genuinely destroys trust, safety, and dignity. I want our relationship to be healthy enough that choosing each other never means ignoring truth. It means facing truth together. And I want to keep choosing you when life changes around us. Maybe we move. Maybe careers change. Maybe our financial circumstances shift. Maybe our family grows. Maybe our responsibilities become different than we imagined. Maybe we have to start over in some area of life. I don't want my love to depend on everything staying predictable. I want us to adapt. I want us to have conversations. I want us to make new plans. I want us to remind one another that the most important thing is not controlling the future. It's walking through it together. And I want to keep choosing you when we are older. This matters to me more than almost anything. Because I don't want to love only the young version of you. I don't want to love only the version of you I meet at the beginning of our story. I want to love the woman whose face changes with time. The woman whose priorities evolve. The woman who becomes wiser. The woman who carries years of memories beside me. And I want you to love the man I become too. Because someday we will both look different. We will have different responsibilities. We will have experienced things we cannot predict today. And I want the relationship to have grown deeper, not simply older. I want us to have the kind of love that carries history. The kind where one look can communicate an entire sentence. The kind where you remember what the other person needs before they ask. The kind where ordinary silence feels peaceful instead of empty. The kind where you can look across a room and think, that's my person. And even then, I don't want to take it for granted. I want to keep choosing you. I want to keep dating you. I want to keep making you laugh. I want to keep celebrating you. I want to keep touching your hand when we walk. I want to keep touching your hand when we walk. I want to keep thanking you. I want to keep saying the words that people sometimes stop saying because they assume they are understood. I love you. I'm proud of you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm here. We can handle this. I've got you. Those words can become ordinary if you stop meaning them. But I want to keep meaning them. I want my love to remain alive through intention. Because feelings change. Energy changes. Circumstances change. But commitment can remain. And every day I want to remember that I am not simply living beside someone. I am living with the person I promised to love. That should change how I speak, how I listen, how I act, how I make decisions, how I prioritize my time, how I respond when things are difficult. And when you ask me whether I still choose you after years have passed, I don't want to say, of course. I want my life to be the answer. I want you to see it in the way I still notice you, in the way I still listen, in the way I still protect your heart, in the way I still care about your dreams, in the way I still want to know how your day went, in the way I still want to know how your day went, in the way I still make room for laughter, in the way I still take your hand when life becomes frightening. I want you to feel chosen, not merely claimed, because there's a huge difference. Being claimed can be about possession. Being chosen is about love. And I want you to know that I choose you freely, intentionally, sincerely, and repeatedly. My future wife, I cannot promise that every day will feel like a celebration. But I can promise that ordinary days will still matter to me. I cannot promise that I will never disappoint you, but I can promise that I will take responsibility and keep trying. I cannot promise that we will never disagree. but I can promise that I will fight for understanding instead of simply fighting to win. I cannot promise that life will always be kind to us, but I can promise that I will not stop showing up just because life becomes difficult. I cannot promise perfection, but I can promise intention. I can promise effort. I can promise honesty. I can promise commitment. And more than anything, I can promise that as long as we are building this life together, I will keep choosing you. When you're joyful, I'll choose you. When you're tired, I'll choose you. When you're uncertain, I'll choose you. When you're uncertain, when we disagree, I'll choose you. When life changes, I'll choose you. When the years pass and everything around us looks different, I'll choose you. Because the love I want to give you is not simply a feeling that happens to me. It is a decision I want to make with my whole life. So when the excitement at the beginning becomes the quiet beauty of a life shared for years, I hope you still hear the same message from me, that I hope you hear now. I see you. I know you. I respect you. I love you. And I choose you again and again for as long as we are blessed to walk this road together. My future wife, if you have listened this far, then there is one final thing I want you to understand. Maybe more than anything else I've said, this is the message I would want to place directly into your heart and ask you to remember whenever life becomes confusing, whenever you question yourself, whenever you wonder whether you are enough, or whenever the future feels uncertain. I don't know your name yet. I don't know the sound of your voice. I don't know what your smile looks like when something catches you completely off guard. I don't know the little expression you make when you're trying not to laugh. I don't know what your favorite place is, what song makes you feel nostalgic, what dream you've carried quietly for years, or what memories have shaped the woman you are becoming. But someday, I hope I will. And when that day comes, I hope I won't simply think, I've found my wife. I hope I will think, I found someone whose heart I want to spend the rest of my life learning. Because I don't want this story to be about finding a perfect ending. I want it to be about discovering a beautiful beginning. The beginning of a life where two people stop asking what love looks like from a distance and start learning what it looks like up close. I want you to know that you don't have to arrive in my life with every question answered. You don't have to arrive without wounds. You don't have to arrive knowing exactly where you want to go. You don't have to arrive with some perfect history that makes you easy to love. You can arrive as you are, because I am not expecting perfection from you, and I hope you will never expect perfection from me. I want honesty. I want kindness. I want loyalty. I want respect. I want communication. I want faithfulness. I want effort. I want a willingness to grow. I want two people who can look at each other and say, I don't have everything figured out, but I am willing to figure it out with you. That is enough for me. More than enough. Because the truth is, none of us knows everything that is waiting ahead. We can make plans. We can dream. We can prepare. But life will always surprise us. There will be moments we could never have predicted. There will be doors that open unexpectedly. There will be doors that close when we desperately wanted them to stay open. There will be seasons when we understand exactly what is happening. And there will be seasons when we have absolutely no idea why life looks the way it does. When those moments come, I don't want us to believe that the unexpected means the story is broken. Sometimes the unexpected becomes the most meaningful part of the story. Maybe the thing we feared will teach us courage. Maybe the disappointment will teach us patience. Maybe the delay will teach us gratitude. Maybe the change we resisted will lead us somewhere we would never have chosen ourselves. I don't want to control every chapter. I want to live them with you. And if the future ever becomes frightening, I want you to remember this. You don't have to know the entire road to take the next step. We don't have to know where every road leads. We only have to be willing to walk honestly, patiently, and together. That's what I want from us. Together. That word means so much to me. I don't want to build a life where you feel like you're simply living beside me. I want you to feel like we are actually sharing the same story. When something wonderful happens to you, I want to be one of the first people you want to tell. When something hurts you, I want to be someone you trust enough to call. When you have a decision to make, I want you to know that your voice matters. When I face something difficult, I want to feel the same freedom to come to you. I want our marriage to become a partnership where neither person feels like they are carrying the future alone. And maybe there will be moments when we don't know what to do. That's okay. We don't have to pretend. We can sit down. We can talk. We can pray. We can think. We can ask for help. We can make a plan. And if that plan doesn't work, we can make another one. I don't need us to have all the answers. I need us to remain honest. I need us to remain honest. I need us to remain kind. I need us to remain committed to understanding each other. Because there is something I have learned about life. Sometimes the strongest relationships aren't the ones where people have everything under control. They are the ones where people know how to face uncertainty without turning against each other. And that is the kind of love I want with you. I want you to know that when you become my wife, your dreams won't become secondary to mine. I want to know what makes you come alive. I want to know what you are passionate about. I want to know what you want to learn. I want to know what you want to create. I want to know what you want to create. I want to know what you would attempt if you weren't afraid of failing. And I want to encourage you, I don't want you to become smaller because you are married. I want you to become more fully yourself. And I hope you will want the same for me. I want both of us to keep growing. Because the woman I meet on the first day will not be exactly the same woman I know 10 years later. And I won't be exactly the same man either. We will change. We will learn. We will mature. We will mature. We will make mistakes. We will surprise one another. And I hope instead of fearing those changes, we will become curious about them. I want to keep discovering you. I want to keep asking questions. I want to keep listening. I want to keep being interested in the details of your life, even after I already know most of your stories. Because love should never become an excuse to stop paying attention. And I want you to know that there will be moments when I don't get it right. I will disappoint you sometimes. I will misunderstand you sometimes. I will probably say things I wish I had said differently. There may even be moments when you look at me and think, how could you not understand what I needed? And on those days, I want to have the humility to listen. I don't want to automatically defend myself. I don't want to turn every criticism into an attack. I want to ask, what can I learn from this? Because if I love you, your pain should matter to me. That doesn't mean I will automatically agree with everything. It means I will care enough to understand. And I hope we can build that kind of honesty between us. I want our home to be a place where truth is welcome, where you can tell me something difficult without fearing that I will punish you for it, where I can admit that I'm struggling without feeling ashamed, where both of us can say I need help, where an apology is possible, where forgiveness is possible, where mistakes can become lessons, and where love remains bigger than pride. Because someday, when we are older, I don't want to remember a life filled with arguments about who was right. I want to remember laughter. I want to remember conversations. I want to remember mornings. I want to remember late nights. I want to remember trips that didn't go according to plan but became our favorite stories. I want to remember ordinary meals that somehow felt special because you were sitting across from me. I want to remember the little things, the things nobody else would ever know mattered. The simple moments that slowly became the architecture of our life. And I want you to know that if one day life becomes difficult, those memories won't disappear. They will remind us of what we have built. There may be moments when we are tired of responsibilities. There may be seasons when romance looks less like flowers and more like helping each other get through another exhausting day. There may be nights when we simply sit together because neither of us has the energy for anything else. And I hope I will recognize those moments for what they are. Not failures of romance, but opportunities for love to become deeper. Because sometimes love looks like carrying groceries. Sometimes it looks like making coffee. Sometimes it looks like taking care of something the other person forgot. Sometimes it looks like staying up late because the person beside you isn't feeling well. Sometimes it looks like listening to the same story again. Sometimes it looks like saying, go rest, I'll take care of this. That's the love I want. A love that doesn't need an audience. A love that is expressed in ordinary decisions. A love that says, I see you and I am paying attention. And there's another thing I hope you always remember. You will never have to earn your worth from me. I will not measure your value by how productive you are. I won't measure it by how beautiful you look on a particular day. I won't measure it by how much money you make. I won't measure it by how successful you become. I won't measure it by whether you are having a perfect season of life. Your worth is deeper than all of that. And I want to remind you of that on the days when you forget, because there may be moments when you become your own harshest critic. There may be days when you look at your life and think you should be further ahead. There may be seasons when comparing yourself to other people makes you feel like you are behind. If I am beside you in those moments, I want to remind you to breathe. You don't have to live someone else's timeline. You don't have to measure your life by another person's achievements. You don't have to rush because someone else seems ahead. You are allowed to grow at your own pace. And I want to be the man who supports that. I also want you to know that I don't want to be your entire world. I want to be an important part of your life, but I want you to have friendships, interests, passions, and a sense of identity that belongs to you. I want us to be deeply connected without becoming emotionally trapped. I want love to make both of us stronger, not smaller. I want us to have enough trust that we can breathe independently and still come home to one another. Because when two people choose each other freely, that choice means more. You won't be with me because you cannot live without me. You'll be with me because you want to share your life with me, and I will feel honored by that choice every day. I want to keep deserving it. I want to keep giving you reasons to trust my heart, not through grand speeches alone, but through my behavior, through consistency, through honesty, through the way I handle pressure, through the way I speak to you when I'm frustrated, through whether I remember the promises I made after the excitement of the beginning is gone. I want my actions to make my words believable, and if I ever fail, I want to admit it. I don't want to hide behind excuses. I don't want to say that's just the way I am. I want to be able to change, because loving someone means being willing to grow for the sake of the relationship. And I hope you will have the same willingness, not because either of us should lose ourselves, but because love gives us a reason to become better versions of ourselves. My future wife, I also want to tell you that I don't want our marriage to become a place where we keep score. I don't want to count who sacrificed more, who apologized first, who did more chores this week, who gave more, who made the bigger compromise. Life will never be perfectly balanced every single day. There will be seasons when you give more. There will be seasons when I give more. What matters is that both of us remain committed to generosity. I want us to ask, what does the other person need right now? Not, what am I owed? That change in perspective can make a marriage feel completely different, and there may be days when one of us has almost nothing left to give. On those days, I hope the other person remembers that love isn't a transaction. Sometimes you carry. Sometimes you are carried. Sometimes you are carried. Sometimes you speak. Sometimes you listen. Sometimes you lead. Sometimes you follow. Sometimes you are strong. Sometimes you are the one who needs strength. And all of that can exist inside a healthy partnership. I want our story to have room for grace. Because someday, if we are lucky enough to grow old together, there will be countless moments when we will need to look at one another and say, I know you didn't mean that. I know you're tired. I know you're tired. I know you're doing your best. Let's try again. Those sentences can save relationships, and I hope we learn them. I hope we become gentle with each other without becoming careless about truth. I hope we become honest without becoming cruel. I hope we become committed without becoming controlling. I hope we become independent enough to remain ourselves and connected enough to remain a team. And when people ask us years from now what made our marriage work, I don't want the answer to be that we never struggled. I want the answer to be that we learned how to struggle without becoming enemies. We learned how to disagree without disrespect. We learned how to apologize. We learned how to forgive. We learned how to communicate. We learned how to communicate choosing each other. And perhaps that is the most important thing I have to tell you. I cannot promise you a life without uncertainty. I cannot promise that we will always know what tomorrow holds. I cannot promise that every dream will happen exactly the way we imagined. I cannot promise that neither of us will ever get hurt. But I can promise that I want to build a relationship strong enough to face those realities honestly. I want to stand beside you when life is beautiful. And I want to stand beside you when life is frightening. I want to laugh with you. And I want to sit quietly with you. I want to sit quietly with you. I want to celebrate your victories. And I want to hold your hand when you experience disappointment. I want to support your dreams. And I want to help you rest when you become exhausted from chasing them. I want to know your heart. And I want to protect the trust you place in mine. I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. I want to keep choosing. Because when I finally meet you, I don't want that moment to be the end of the waiting. I want it to be the beginning of the work, the beginning of building, the beginning of discovering, the beginning of choosing. And maybe years from now, when we look back at the uncertainty that came before we met, we'll realize that every unanswered question had simply been part of the preparation. Maybe we'll laugh about how little we knew. Maybe we'll look at the life around us and realize that we couldn't have planned it this way if we tried. Maybe we'll sit together somewhere quiet, holding hands, and realize that the most meaningful part of the story was never finding a perfect person. It was becoming two people who were willing to love imperfectly, honestly, patiently, and faithfully. So, my future wife, here's the important thing I need you to know. You don't have to arrive perfect. You don't have to arrive without fear. You don't have to arrive without a past. You don't have to arrive with all the answers. Just arrive with your heart open to something real. And I will do my best to arrive with mine. I won't promise you perfection. I will promise you intention. I won't promise you an easy life. I will promise you that I want to face life with you. I won't promise that I will never make mistakes. I will promise to keep learning from them. I won't promise that we will always understand each other. I will promise to keep trying to understand. And I won't promise that every day will feel like the beginning. But I will promise to keep choosing you long after the beginning has become a memory. Because when all the beautiful words are finished, when the excitement is quieted, when the years have passed, when life has changed us both, I want one truth to remain unchanged. I chose you. I loved you. I respected you. I kept learning you. I kept protecting what we built. And through every chapter we were given, I kept reaching for your hand. So wherever you are right now, future wife, live your life fully. Become who you are meant to become. Chase what matters. Laugh often. Heal honestly. Dream boldly. And when the day finally comes that our paths cross, I hope we recognize the gift standing in front of us. Because I am not waiting for a perfect ending. I am waiting for the woman with whom I can begin a real life. And when that life begins, I will spend every day making sure you never have to wonder whether you are truly loved.